Megan Fox has the story.
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox. Megan Fox, a national journalist.
Mastodon. I will never be able to say that.
It feels like the Flintstones live there.
It does.
Well, don't trust women. I think you just touched on that with your last. That's what they brought. We're going to have to bring back chaperones.
Jesus, no.
Just careful. Stop! Break! Ooh. Hard right.
How did you screw up a stove, Megan? You're a woman. I thought that was baked into you. Like at the genetic level, how to operate kitchen equipment.
And honestly, Megan, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you.
You get Dino hanging out outside chewing on a large bone. I highly recommend being targeted by the New York Times and Rolling Stone for weight loss. And I'd say, keep it coming. I need to lose 20 more. Please, keep it coming.
Explain to me, Megan, why did this country not have a holiday once a year? That's the time you vote. If you don't show up and vote, up your ass. You don't get another chance. You don't get, I don't care if you're in the hospital. Crawl to the stake, crawl there. But that's it. 1 day, 12 hours, and then you're done. And you count them that day, and that night you know who the hell won.
I will eat you alive. You want to tangle? You want to go?
The only thing going through my head is, what are you going to do when Megan Fox runs wild on you, brother?
He made a deal with the devil. She's the devil.
He wants that.
Oh, God. Gross! Oh! All right. Penalty box for slug. Yep.
Of a mile.
Are you ready to behave yourself now, slug?
This frustrating rep.
Are you ready to behave yourself? Repossessed puppies. I'm hiding pork chop. ASAP. Have you seen his little pork chop? Oh my God, pork chop is the cutest.
That sounds bad.
Have you seen it?
Pork is pork.
Though you may be tempted, do not contact any person or persons mentioned on this stream. Do not even think about contacting anyone who may be the topic of the daily news. If you should do that, the host will question your IQ, possibly call you names, and mock you for disobeying these basic rules of decency.
All the best.
Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm Megan Fox. It's good to have you here, and I have a very special broadcast for you today. If you are a person who is like, what is this, what the Hales stuff? I can't follow along. It's too much. Count me out. Today is probably the right day for you because we're going all the way back to the beginning. Oh, yes, the very beginning. And what was happening at the beginning? There was a judge. We named him the Grudge Judge, Judge Grudge, Judge Craig DeThomasis. He was one of the worst judges I've ever seen in action. And it wouldn't be the same without my very special friend, Larry Forman, DUI guy. He's here to read the JQC complaint with me against Judge Craig DeThomasis. Larry, welcome to the program. How are you?
Hello. Long time no see. Megan, how are you?
I'm very good. And I thought that today would be a good way to go back to the beginning to explain to people who maybe jumped in late or they didn't know what was going on, or maybe somebody brand new. Why did we get interested in this case? Why did you, Larry?
Why not get back to the roots? That's what I always say. Why did I get interested in it? Oh my goodness, you're taking me back. I did not prepare for this. You didn't give me a list of questions. Megan, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding.
You're a pro. You don't need a list.
So, February. I remember it was late February of 2024. I got an email from somebody saying, Larry, you have to check out this What the Hales thing. And I was like, what the who? About the what?
About the what? Yeah, me
I
too.
have no idea what you're talking about. I think you drank too much, liquid Kool-Aid, because I've never heard of this thing and I just left it alone. Not a day goes by and I get another email. Larry, you need to check out this what the Hales thing. And I'm like, okay, strike 2 on this thing. Because, us content creators, we get a lot of emails. I'm sure you get a lot of emails yourself, Megan, of people saying like, hey, we've got this thing we want you to look at. There's this injustice happening in the world. And you can't cover everything. Otherwise, you won't be able to work or sleep, right?
Right.
So the long and short of it is I got a third one. And for me, that is when my spidey sense starts tingling and I go, all right, these are 3 independent, totally unrelated, like different fonts in the email. Like you could tell these are 3 different people.
Yeah. Different people.
Yeah, you can't hide it. I can smell if it's the same person just using 3 different emails a mile away. It's a skill. I'm sure you have it too as a journalist.
Oh, sure. You can tell by the way people write,
That's what professors are going to do to my girlfriend when she starts law school in how many days? I don't know. 3 months? Something like that. Anyway.
That's exciting.
We're very excited, yes. So anyway, yeah, I was like, okay, what is going on here? So I checked it out and I realized, holy crap, this is something. This judge is off his rocker. He is off his hinges. I want to cover this. And I brought Jeremy on. That was the first video I ever did. I brought Jeremy on to tell his story. And he did. And that video netted me something like $2,500. Just one video, which was insane.
Wow,
yeah,
that's big.
all his audience flocked to me. I got like 27,000 subscribers in like 2 days. It was insane. And I was like,
they were really desperate for somebody to cover this, especially from a legal perspective. And I think that was what was sorely missing from it. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, the telltale sign was not the money itself, but the fact that it got like 150,000 views like in 24 hours or something. I was like, okay, there's clearly interest in this. This is not just a fluke. People were right. Hilarious Patient Zero says rat's ass 67. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
At the same time, people were emailing you. They were tweeting me. So before I even knew you were doing it, I started looking into it. But I was on his channel going through these videos, and it's like Otter Creek, Otter Creek, Otter Creek. And there were like 100 videos. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. I just don't know. And then I saw your interview and I was like, oh, there it is. The TLDR. That's perfect, because that gave me an overview and I knew where to start. So we started watching these hearings with this judge. And so it starts out, Jeremy Hales is being sued for a protective order by his neighbor, Lynette Preston. She's claiming he's a YouTuber. He's filming her. He's stalking her. He's doing all these terrible things to her. So she says, and she wants a protective order against him. The Judge Grudge, Craig DeThomasis, starts behaving in a way that is inexplicable. And what really caught my attention was the very first restriction he put on Jeremy. He granted a temporary restraining order that lasted over 11 months. It was supposed to be only 15 days. He never got an evidentiary hearing. The judge refused to let his lawyer tell his side of the case. All kinds of things that we're about to go over in this JQC complaint. Now, do you want to tell people, Larry, what is a JQC?
I have no idea. I'm just kidding.
Stands for Judicial Qualifications Commission, but I know you know what it is. You tell them.
Yes, it's a Judicial Qualifications Commission. I couldn't remember the acronym. Honestly, I didn't remember.
That's okay.
But yes, it's basically, if you're a lawyer and you're representing a client and you have a judge that is misbehaving, and I'm not just saying misbehaving in the, I am denying your motion because legal reasons, and you're like, I don't like you, judge. You are ruling against me because you're following the law type deal.
Right.
We're talking about a judge who is going outside the bounds of the law, bringing in personal information, bringing in personal vendetta feelings, what have you, that are, as we like to call, extrajudicial in the legal world. This is extrajudicial stuff, meaning it's not like the hottest stuff since sliced bread type deal. It's extrajudicial in the sense that it's not in the form of, it's extra, but it is irrelevant. And that's the key term. Stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with what is happening in court, and you are bringing it in anyway because you don't like the party, you don't like the plaintiff or the defendant, whoever you represent,
Or
you
the
don't like
lawyers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what can you do? The first step is you file a motion for recusal. Say, Judge, let's be honest here. You shouldn't be on this case. And here's why. And like the most common motion to recuse that has been granted millions of times is, let's say there's a civil lawsuit and it's a corporation or plaintiff versus corporation. And the judge discloses that he or she has stock in that corporation that is being sued. And the judge says, look, I'm not even going to wait for you to file to recuse me. I'm just going to step away, give it to another judge because I can't preside over this because I have personal stake in the outcome of this case. So I need to step away. And the judges have actually been caught on the flip side when they don't recuse themselves, which is another story, but it doesn't matter. That's like a classic example where judges time and time again will just remove themselves. They don't even wait for a motion. But in our case, the Thomases was asked to be removed, not once, not twice, 3 times. We were like, I say we like it was me, but you know what I mean. Randy, Doreen, we're basically family at this point.
Basically, yeah.
And I have Mark Feather in the back. I know you can't see him. My camera is off, but I have Mark Feather right behind me. And, you know, they were like, dude, Judge the Thomases, you're acting extremely unethically. You're being unruly. Stop it. And he was just like, no, I don't care. And that's where the problems began.
Correct. And so what we have here today is we found out that Doreen Inkeles of Shockett Law Group did file a JQC complaint with the Judicial Qualifications Commission, which is what you do when you have exhausted all your possibilities. And by the way, the appeals court did remove Judge DeThomasis from Jeremy Hales' case because the judge was all those things we said he was: biased, doing unlawful things, dragging things out unnecessarily. He was removed, but that's not where it ends, because you still have the option to call the JQC and ask them to intervene and issue. Sometimes they can issue discipline. It's kind of like taking a lawyer before the bar. You're taking the judge before the commission, and you're saying this judge needs to be reprimanded. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring up Doreen's beautifully written 24-page JQC complaint. So the first part is the statement of facts. We'll take turns reading this if you can see the screen okay. Can you see the screen okay? Mm-hmm. All right, great. I'll start and I'll turn it over when we get there. So this is a 25-page limit. You can't go beyond that. And the author's note here says, this is JQC complaint and the companion complaint in Gosney v. Griffith. Those of you who watched my channel or Legal Vices, you know about that case as well. Same judge, same lawyers, same complaints. We're being finalized for mailing to the commission during the week of 8/6. The First District Court of Appeal issued its opinion on Hale's petition for writ of prohibition included herein, and indeed issued the writ removing Judge DeThomasis from this case. Very rare thing. Earlier on May 15th, the court issued an order to show cause, requiring opposing counsel to file a response showing why the judge should not be removed, and allowed us time to reply. I remember that. I remember thinking when they did that, I was like, oh my God, they're going to remove him. They're going to do it. A show cause. That was an exciting time.
Yep.
Wasn't it? Weren't you like,
oh? I couldn't believe it. I was like, you're serious. I've never seen this before in my life. Like I for those of you who are longtime followers of my channel, you know that I have a short that went viral. That's like 18, 19, 20 million views of me going head to head saying, Judge, remove yourself. And she's like, no. And then I was like, okay, well, you have to remove yourself. And she is like, yeah. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to remove you. And she's like, yeah. And so I was like, okay, I filed a motion. You need to step aside, let them decide. And she was still, no. And I'm like, okay. And that's when I just went ham. I was like, listen, Judge, this is it. Like, you got to follow the law. And she's like, basically, all but saying, no, I don't, but trying to make it look like, yes, I am. So, and I called her out and she didn't like it. And oh, get this. And this is the most insane thing that has ever happened to me in a courtroom in the United States of America in my career. I say it like I practice in other countries. But anyway, we show up one day, and this is, I think, either the day after or 2 days after. She's just like kind of waiting. We're waiting for the Supreme Court Chief Justice Minton to come down and say, is she in or is she out and being replaced? That's all we're waiting on, okay? So she has no jurisdiction. Shafazadeh versus Shafazadeh. It's a divorce case, said very clearly, while the Chief Justice has not yet ruled on the recusal, whether or not the judge shall or shall not recuse him or herself, the case is in limbo, and the judge loses, and I quote, loses jurisdiction over case for that duration. Stripped of the jurisdiction. I love that word. I stripped the judge of jurisdiction. And so
good.
I'm standing in court, and the judge calls, like right before I leave for a previous hearing, she's like, Mr. Forman, is your client going to be here? And I kind of say, oh, yeah, we'll be here at 1 o'clock, like assuming that Chief Justice Minton is going to rule by 1 p.m. Now, of course, there's no way in hell that's going to happen, but I have to give the opportunity for the judge to save face. So, and this is where it gets fascinating. And that video is on YouTube, and I can show you where it is. It is the most incredible piece of footage I've ever recorded in my career. I'm sitting there. I rushed to court because it was already like 1:03. I was like 3 minutes late. Everybody's in there waiting for me. And she's just like, where's your client? And I said, he is not here. He said, but you said he's going to be here. Where is he? He's near the courthouse. Okay. Are you going to bring him in here? No. But you said you would. Well, I lied because I would bring him in for trial. I'm not bringing him in for anything else. What do you need him for? It doesn't matter what I need him for. You said he was going to be here. You lied to me. Yes, I did, because you are stripped of jurisdiction, Judge.
Oh,
and
my.
She's just like, okay, no. We're not going to be playing these games. Where's your client? And she just will not stop. Like, where's your client? Where's your client? Where's your client? And I'm like, Your Honor, if I may. And I calm myself down and I say, Your Honor, there are no motions before the court. You do not have authority to do anything, let alone sua sponte, essentially call my client to the witness stand, which I don't know what the hell the prosecutor was trying to do. To this day, I have a theory, but it doesn't matter. The point is they were trying to do a mini trial before the actual trial starts, because the prosecutor accused me of some unethical bullshit that I never did. And so I was like, Your Honor, if you're going, and it never came to fruition because we got a different judge and the prosecutor knew it would never fly. With this judge, because she was a prosecutor in a robe, kind of like the Thomases, kind of like Auntie Bev, he knew it would fly with her. But the minute the judge was replaced 2 years later, because COVID, we got a brand new judge, and his whole bullschlacha went out the window. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had nothing. He had nothing. He was also stripped naked of his authority, if you will. So anyway, to make a long story very short, which I know I'm already droning on, it feels like, but the long and short of it is...
You never drone. I always enjoy your stories.
The judge I just kept maintaining. She's like, bring your client in. And I'm basically saying, no, go fuck yourself. I'm not bringing my client because there's no motion before the court. There's no reason for you to question him. There's nothing, period. And finally, she just gives up and says, okay, I'm just going to roll the case. And she accuses me again of like, Mr. Forman, you need to learn how to behave and this and that. I mean, it's like, I feel like a child. I feel like a small child in her courtroom. She makes you feel like that.
That's how De Thomas has made people feel.
Because that's just who she is. But she's gotten better. And I will give her credit, honestly, in case she's watching this video, which she, as far as I know, she might be. She has changed her tune since I went head to head with her. And then my job is done.
Interestingly enough, Judge De Thomas's behavior has been reported to be much better, much more sober, much less chatter to hear his own voice ever since this happened.
Oh, really?
No more recitation of the record for 15 minutes. 15 minutes before the case gets underway. He has now been reported to be saying, "Counselor, it's your motion." That's it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No more 15
We've done
minutes,
it. We shamed him into behaving properly, which is great.
Isn't that what we're supposed to do?
Yes. Yes. That's the whole purpose. The whole purpose of pointing out bad behavior is to say, stop it, change.
Yep.
Stop this. So this is Doreen's way of she's saying to the commission, this judge is out of control. So I'll keep. Oh, by the way, those of you in the chat saying that you didn't get the notification, I know YouTube is asshole. So make sure that you're following me on Locals. You can follow me there for free. You just can't comment if you're not a subscriber, but you can follow me and get notifications on Locals. MeganFox.locals.com. I will always post when I'm going live there, and they will send you a notification. YouTube, on the other hand, sucks and won't do that. By the way, at the top of the chat, pinned to the top of the chat, there is a new way to send super chats through supertip.gg/Megan Fox. You can check it out, and it looks and sounds like this because there are AI voices, and no, they are not real voices. This is clearly satire and parody, but here's my dad. Want to hear my dad, Larry? This is hysterical. Let's see. Here's my
minimum wage is unacceptable.
That's my dad's voice. And Joan Sclafani is starting us off with $5 on the super tips.
Hi, Megan. BBB gonna lose this ass.
Probably. So super tips is a lot of fun. There's a lot of different voices you can choose from. There are more coming, including Judge Grudge. He will be a voice in the super tips, and that will be hilarious. 15 minutes. Okay. Where was in Preston v. Hales? Our client is Jeremy Hales, the respondent. Now, folks, if you haven't heard this case, pay attention because you'll get the whole overview right now and you can catch up. The underlying case involves a cyber-stalking injunction sought by Ms. Preston, the petitioner. Judge Thomas's judicial misconduct occurred at court proceedings on September 13th, October 11th, October 26th, November 29th, December 6th, January 23rd, and February 28th. Additional separate acts of misconduct involving written orders occurred on December 4th, 5th, and 6th, January 16th, February 14th, February 28th. I believe that between September 2023 and February 2024, Judge Thomas has repeatedly violated Canon 1, Canon 2A, and Canon 3, B2, B4, B5, B7, B8, bingo, B9, B12, 3, C2, and 3, E1 of the Florida Code of Judicial Conduct.
That's impressive. Like normally you get like 2 or 3.
He violated them all.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
But now you got to justify, Doreen. Like, nice intro, Doreen. Nice preview, Doreen.
Now prove it.
Now prove it. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm impressed, Doreen. Not. What else you got?
Oh, she's got a lot. Hold on to your shorts. General categories of Judge Thomas's judicial misconduct. Ex-parte communications with Ms. Preston. Extensive substantive communications about the case with Ms. Preston at 3 court proceedings, which we have videotape of. We have watched before Mr. Hales was even served and therefore not present.
Oof.
Very bad, right, Larry? Is that a bad thing? It sounds bad.
Remember the judge in Georgia on the YSL case? I think it was the young thug,
right?
Yeah, that was he got. I don't know if he got disbarred or anything, but he should be. Probably lose his judicial.
Didn't he get removed from that case?
Well, he was removed from the case 100%. But I'm saying I'm sure that there are more sanctions on their way. Usually, it takes time. Do you remember that judge in Florida? In that one shooting, was it a shooting case? It was the female judge with the short hair, and she was like scolding the defense, like, in my courtroom, you will not be doing that, Mr. So-and-so. Like, remember that? Do you remember?
I don't think I saw her. I don't think I saw that one.
Chat, help us out here. Who am I talking about? You know who I'm talking about. We got a lot of law and crime. I say law and crime. I mean like true crime junkies. What was the judge's name, and what was the case down in Florida that she was? It was down south somewhere, and that judge, while Chad is doing their research and due diligence,
Chad, hurry up. Yeah, we need an answer. Was that the Nicholas Cruz? Was that the Nicholas Cruz trial?
She went the Parkland shooter. Yeah,
Parkland.
There it is. The Parkland.
That was
shooter.
Nicholas Cruz. Yeah.
Yep. So she got reprimanded by the Judicial Committee like 9 months later or something like that. 12 months later.
Interesting.
So it does happen. It just takes time. Just because you are, the Georgia judge, this only happened like feels like 9 months ago. So it's coming. It's probably coming. It's going to be public. And
good.
It was Judge Hottie. That's right. Marty Vale Esquire, fictional lawyer. Judge Hottie. She's not hot. She is not. I don't know. Was
she really that hot? I thought it was the judge in the Darrell Brooks case was Judge Mommy. We called her Judge Mommy. She was very pretty.
No, Judge Mommy is different. Judge Hottie is way different than Judge Mommy. I'm talking like you want to talk about Hottie? Ask Flux. Flux knows who the hotties are in the Karen Reed case.
The Karen Reed, yeah, I know. She loves that the daughter, the McCabe girl. What's her name? Allie McCabe. Allie.
No, not Allie. Caitlin. Oh God, Jesus, Megan. Caitlin? No, don't say unless you know it. Please don't say anything. Caitlin Albert.
Caitlin Albert. Okay,
Look her
I thought
up.
it was Allie.
Caitlin Albert.
Oh, she's here. Flux is here.
Yeah, she is. That's what I'm saying.
Flux. Oh, right.
Caitlin Albert is the hottie McHottie that Flux is drooling over.
Well, she's lucky she didn't get some of those genetics that passed over from the Jennifer side. You know, Jennifer
the
and
murder genes?
Nicole from her mother's side. Yeah, the murder genes. All right, sorry. Moving on. General categories of Judge DeThomas's judicial misconduct. We did the ex parte. Repeated intemperance, condescending, sarcastic, arrogant, verbally combative, arbitrary, capricious, retaliates against parties and attorneys for exercising legal rights, tries to humiliate, belittle attorneys, displays resentment against counsel for having a conflict on a date that Judge DeThomas wants to schedule a hearing, and holds a grudge against the attorney which never ends and in turn hurts the client, displays obvious favoritism toward one side and obvious contempt for the side he disfavors. All of that is very bad.
Put up on the screen just real quick. Hottie McAlbert. That's the one Flux was talking about from last year. She hasn't.
Oh, here she is. Yes, this is her. This is the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, she's not even that pretty, but
that's not even a good picture. She's better looking than that. That's not a great picture.
I don't know. I'm a guy. I don't know how to do pictures.
Well, that one's not a very flattering one. She's better looking than that. Flux. Damn.
Here's a better one. Hold on. I got it. I got you.
Okay,
I got
you got
fam.
one. You got you.
I got you, fam. Hold up. This is her. And by the way, did you know they got engaged because the world was shaming what's his name? Not Brian. Was it?
Oh, that boyfriend of hers. That
Yeah.
boyfriend of hers. Agreed.
He was shamed that, like, dude, how long have you two been dating? 7 years, and you're still not engaged.
Look,
what is
she really
wrong
is-
with you? Okay,
she
I'm
really
gonna
is
get engaged.
beautiful.
They had an engagement party in the middle of the trial because they know, like, we're all going to prison. So let's have a engagement party before it's all over.
The FBI is knocking. Oh, that thing you tweeted out the other day, by the way, with the Canton Police Department, and it shows the FBI is following them, made me laugh so hard. I think I
That's so
snorted
good.
coffee through my nose. Oh, but yeah, she's
Chandler
very
is way
pretty.
more beautiful. That's right, EP. True. Chandler is the most beautiful.
She is very beautiful, and she has a very, very beautiful spirit as well, which is important. And I don't think she's been involved in any murder plots, so that's
And
a
very
plus in
beautiful
her
boyfriend.
column.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Not faithful to the law, manipulates and cherry picks language from precedent and rules to achieve a result, engages in judicial legislation. I said he actually was doing like lawyering litigation from the bench, which is the next one. Cannot stop being a lawyer or a compliance officer. Take sides before hearing any evidence. Cross-examines lawyers. Yep, he's done this. Conducts impromptu sworn compliance inquisitions on non-essential collateral matters. Remember when he made Jeremy Hales raise your right hand and
Yes.
he swore him in, and then he interrogated him? Well, you didn't see this, but in the Gosney v. Griffith case, Larry, he
Yeah.
did that to the lawyer. To the opposing lawyer, Randy's opposing counsel.
What?
He had her raise her hand and swore her in, asked her questions, and then when Randy tried to cross her, he was like, no more questions. And it was about Randy. It was
What?
insane. Yeah, you've never seen anything like it.
No.
I made Jeff not watch ahead, so because I knew that part was coming. And when that happened, I knew exactly what he would do. I mean, Jeff had like a flippant flip out. He was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's unbelievable. So, which he then elevates above the merits of the case. That's true. So he does this thing about non-essential things and then says it's more important than what we're discussing. Assists pro se litigants by supplying elements of claims or defenses. Yep. Constantly questions motives of a party for doing something that they have a legal right to do. Like when he questioned Jeremy all the time about why do you put these things on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
You put the deposition
That's
on
not
YouTube?
his business. That doesn't matter. It has no effect on the case.
The deposition is absolutely public if Jeremy paid for it and wants to put it on YouTube. A judge cannot stop him from doing that. And
This
yet
is not
he spent so much time screaming at him about how dare you put it on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's kind of like the McAlberts. You know, I'm sorry I keep bringing the analogy because it's just hot fire right now and very relevant, but that you're trying to bury the truth because the truth hurts and you don't like to see it. And I get it. He doesn't want criticism from the outside world. He wants to live in his own little bubble with, you know, his 100 voters or whatever listening in, and everybody else can be damned. And that's not how the world works. We are here to criticize judges and their behavior.
Anybody in authority, really, because that's very American of us. We have the legal right and the duty, really. The Constitution says we have a duty to call out tyrants when we see them. Bingo. Hey, look who's in the jails. In the jails.
Nice. I love
what
that.
The Hales is in the chat is what I meant to say. What the Hales? That's what my brain gets ahead of myself sometimes. That's what happened there.
What the Chales hat?
What the Chales hat? And there are some more super tips, which are hilarious. We have to play those because they're always fun. John Barton, thanks for the 5.
Objection grounds for cake.
Love the Darrell Brooks voice. And Debbie Florio, thanks for the 5.
Just checking to see if it works.
It definitely works. And then we have a super tip, which is not a voice. And if I put it up on the screen, it won't come down. So I'm waiting for the next voice one. I'll wait for the next voice one. There's a glitch in the system at the moment, but I have to have another one to play after it, or it stays up on the screen forever. I'm not sure why. They'll fix it eventually.
Oh, happy birthday, George.
It's George's birthday?
Yeah, scroll up to the comments.
Oh, cool. George, happy birthday. That's excellent. I'll have to send her a happy birthday text. Your birthday was just recently, Larry. Did you get anything fun for your birthday? Do anything good?
Nope, nothing. Just hung out.
Well, you know, the older we get, the less our birthdays mean anything.
We had family over. That's all I needed.
Except for another year to add some more back problems to the list of complaints. Intentionally misrepresents and distorts the record. Makes misstatements of fact or omits material facts to create a false impression, which he uses to denigrate the particular party and or attorney he disfavors. Oh, we saw him do that so many times. All right, Larry, you can take over from here.
Where am I starting? Engages?
Yeah.
Engages in independent fact gathering against one side, underlined. Quickly draws adverse negative conclusions about parties and attorneys based on no evidence whatsoever, which after the remainder of the case, which affect the remainder of the case, basically takes on a role of judge, jury, and executioner. Now let's talk about the ex-parte communications, which involved the proceedings in September, October of 2023. And Doreen included on a flash drive for the committee to review. Those 2023 preliminary proceedings occurred early on, before Mr. Hales was even served with the first order that merely set a hearing date for Ms. Preston's injunction petition to be heard, and were wholly ex parte, meaning without the other party being present with Ms. Preston. Mr. Hales did not obtain these particular audio-video recordings until approximately July 2024, having ordered them as a matter of completeness, not realizing that such extensive, egregious ex-parte communications with one side had occurred. So he had no knowledge, obviously. It wasn't like, oh, by the way, Mr. Hales, we wanted to let you know that Ms. Preston and I have had some communication. No, none of that. He found out on accident, complete accident. And I just realized that Doreen is a double spacer, so we're going to have a conversation about that.
Oh,
Anyway,
my God,
no,
you're
I'm
right.
kidding.
Somebody else had done that recently, too, and I was like, stop it. Oh, I know. It was.
I always have to go back and delete. I do a control find, and I search for 2 spaces, and then I replace all with 1 space. It's very
It looks like that's just a mistake because generally it's 1.
No,
I see that.
No,
there's
it's double
two here
spaced.
too.
Everything is double space.
Oh, you're
Double,
right.
not double space, but double space bar.
I have
Anyway,
found Greg Woodnick did the same thing in the Laura Owens case. By the way, did
I
you know
know.
that
I
Owens was
saw. She's being
indicted?
charged with perjury.
Oh, worse than that. Fraud, schemes to defraud,
Oh
4
God.
counts of perjury, and tampering with evidence.
You know what sickens me the most? She's now claiming I only did that because I'm on the spectrum.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
No, but it's disgusting. It makes all the people who are actually suffering from like mental whatevers, they're like, how dare she use my real disease as a shield and a sword against her
Well, she
own
can't.
BS.
Because guess what? The law does not recognize autism as a reason to break the law. So
Well, no, but
unfortunately for her, it
it's
ain't
in the
going to
court of
work.
public opinion. You and I both know she's not doing it for the courts. She's doing it for the people, at least, you know.
Right.
So like she
But
can
it's
arm
not
them,
really
like, well,
working.
she's not all there. So anyway, had we been aware of the content of these ex parte hearings, legal action and administrative action would have commenced much, much sooner.
Mm-hmm.
During all of these proceedings, lasting 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and 21 minutes, respectively, Judge DeThomas is engaged in significant ex parte communication with Ms. Preston after calling her case later on the docket each time. So why is that important, by the way, chat? Because if there are fewer people in the courtroom to smell the BS that he is cooking, DeThomas, the more he can get away with. So there are a lot of times you get called at the foot of the docket because I'll tell you a quick story. There's a county which shall remain nameless in Kentucky. Back in the 90s, I've heard stories. They would wait for all the city lawyers to leave, and after they all left, they would start doing their dirty dealings. It was like in the 80s and the 90s. But anyway, so that's being at the foot of the docket is very, very important.
Well, and also if you remember, when I think it was the first hearing, they were scheduled to go in front of him at 1 p.m. And Jeremy had 4 witnesses there, including the mayor of the town and like some other people. And Judge DeThomas has made them wait till 4 p.m. And then he didn't even allow their witnesses to be called. So that kind of thing is really egregious. You know, you don't call somebody for a hearing at 1 and not see them until 4. It's one thing to not see them until 1:30. You know, if you're running a little behind. But he wasn't running so far behind. Like it says, most of all the proceedings before them lasted 6 to 7 minutes.
That's insane. That's insane. And the last one, 21 minutes, probably at the foot of the docket because he had more time. He not only listened, I go on in Doreen's language, he not only listened to all the bad things Ms. Preston said about Mr. Hales in his absence, instead of stopping her there and giving her the new hearing date or having the deputy bring the paperwork with the new date out to her in the courthouse lobby, but instead actually encouraged her to continue by asking her questions, offering to take a look at the documents she intended to introduce as evidence later at a proper hearing. On all 3 dates, members of the JQC, it truly appears as if Judge DeThomas were giving Ms. Preston an in-office consultation, as if acting like a lawyer.
He sure did.
During all 3 proceedings, Judge DeThomas seemed to be acting in concert with Ms. Preston in an effort to obtain stakeout service on Mr. Hales on a particular date. He was believed to be returning to Florida from Ohio, stating several times, "Oh, we'll get him served." We? Ms. Preston quickly picked up on the "we," and by October 26th, almost seemed to be dictating to the judge that we need to do to serve Mr. Hales, Your Honor. But it was the Judge DeThomas who created these many appearances of impropriety, not Ms. Hales, including that he and Ms. Preston, including that he and Ms. Preston were on the same team. He also made a derogatory comment on October 26, 2023 about the entire Ohio justice system, suggesting it was somehow rigged or corrupt. Quote, "So that could have happened in Ohio, where, quite frankly, the system is set up where somebody who lies, ... end quote. Judge DeThomas also gave Ms. Preston legal guidance and legal advice, including on how to file police reports against Mr. Hales, and even giving her the criminal statute number that she should reference. For example, on October 26, he told her, quote, What I'm saying to you is a false accusation to the Department of Children and Families, and that is a crime. And, quote, you need to put in a written petition to the court, but you also ought to consider reporting that to law enforcement for them to investigate, because a written threat to do bodily harm, serious bodily harm, you may want to write it down. 836.10, that's a felony in the state of Florida. He also gave her legal advice as to the correct precedent that she should travel under, as a recent legislative change to the statute as why the cyberstalking statute worked better than than the physical stalking statute. He gave her suggestions to bolster her case against Mr. Hales with supplemental information, include her into other civil causes of action against Mr. Hales.
He did.
The IIED claim and tortious interference with business practices.
He did all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on tape. We've watched it on this channel.
Mm-hmm. Go back. If you haven't seen it, go back on Megan's channel. She'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah, it's in the What the Hales playlist. I'll post it later so you guys can watch it again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's good. It's really good. Judge Thomases allowed and even encouraged this pro se, meaning party represents themselves, party, meaning Ms. Hales, to whine. I keep saying Ms. Hales, Miss Preston. Excuse me.
Poor Jeremy is, every time you say that, he's cringing hard. He's like, no, Lord, no.
And I'm changing his sex, Ms. Hales. Ms. Preston, to whine, complain, and badmouth the other side, meaning Mr. Hales, of the other side of the case when the other side was not there on 3 different court dates, the 6, 7, and 21 minutes, respectively. So a total of 35 minutes of bad mouthing?
Yep.
Crazy. Whether he was acting as her lawyer or her white knight, he was not acting as a
I love
judge.
that.
And he violated, at a minimum, oh God, what was his name? Gotham's White Knight in The Dark Knight. The lead prosecutor of. Okay, chat.
Oh, I don't remember.
I don't remember his name. Anyway, help us out, chat. Who was the Gotham's White Knight that was corrupt? Harvey Two-Face, they called him, right? But Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent. So he was not acting as a judge. He was acting either as her lawyer or her white knight, aka Harvey Dent. At a minimum, canons 2A, 3B, 7, B9, and B10 should face discipline, if not removal. Okay, now I'm getting curious. So Doreen is not just going for the, she doesn't just have an axe to grind to remove him from the case or have him, because he's already.
No, she's talking about removed from the bench.
Removed from the bench. Which would
require a public hearing.
Of
so
course.
if that's what they were to go towards, there would have been a public hearing on it. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Can you just stop right there, have it on the screen so I can see it? Discipline, 100%. 110%. He should be disciplined. He should be reprimanded. There should be something going on his permanent record as an attorney and as a judge so that everybody knows. So even if you don't know who he is, but you look up his name, there is the report of whatever. Removal of a judge is such an extreme measure. I mean, disbarment of a lawyer, removal of a judge from the bench, those are such, in my experience, and when I say my experience, I don't mean my personal experience, but my experience with the United States of America. I don't think this rises to that level, and here's why.
Yeah.
Judge Thomases, although he acted heinously, he did not act criminally. Like, to remove a judge, usually a judge has to commit a crime or do something so egregious that is remember that one judge?
That one judge who had to be literally dragged out of the courtroom by the bailiff. She had to be.
Wait, what?
Do you remember? There was a judge that had to be dragged off the bench by the bailiff.
I don't remember this.
I think it was in Detroit, I think. And she was charged with some crime, and they removed her from the bench and she wouldn't leave. So the bailiff had to literally drag her, and she went limp. And I can find the video. It's very funny.
I do want to see it, as a matter of fact. I'm sure chat will be very entertained, and so will Larry Forman, because he's never seen this video. While
It's
you're
very
looking that
funny.
up, do you remember the judge that was pumping? He had a penis pump under his desk, and while the trial was going on.
No, shut up.
I've never seen this. Well, I've never heard of it. I don't think there's a video. Yeah, there were like proceedings would go on, and all of a sudden you hear a whoop 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 whoop, and everybody was like, "What is that noise?" And it was like, whatever, just keep going. And then 2 hours later, whoop 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 whoop, and
that's horrible.
people started like wondering, asking questions like, "What is going on? What is that? What is that noise? What is that sound?" And eventually people figured out he has a penis pump under his robe. And while he's listening to proceedings, he is pumping the penis pump. Real story. That judge got removed because his conduct is criminal. That's borderlining on indecent exposure, whatever you want to call it. Marilyn Allen remembers. Okay, I want to see
I
this.
found it. All right, so she was this was at her sentencing. So she was sentenced for some crime, and she had a meltdown, and they had to drag her out of the courtroom. Check it out.
Okay, I remember this. I have seen this.
After a judge sentenced another judge to jail time, chaos erupted in an Ohio courtroom. And taking the defendant into custody wasn't so easy. A court officer had to drag her out.
But it wasn't her fault. If I remember correctly, she got attacked by one of the members of the public, and she tried to defend herself. And so they weren't trying to arrest her. She wasn't acting unruly. She just went limp because she wants to show I'm not resisting, so they don't slap a resisting arrest charge afterwards or something.
It's still hilarious. It's just one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Cincinnati judge.
Agreed.
Oh, wait, it was Cincinnati. I thought it was Detroit, but it was Cincinnati.
Close enough.
Close enough, really.
Sorry for people in Detroit and Cincinnati.
Same, right? It's really not that far. But anyway, I do have it. Let's see. We have a couple of super tips here that are okay. Now we can do your thank you, Ann Nowakowski, for the super tip that for the $5 says trying it out. You did it. It worked. See, it's very simple. And you know what's great about super tip? They give they only take 10%. So that's great. Rosalind Duke. Yeah, isn't that great? Rosalind Duke sent 5.
I think you forgot about that one time Chandler tried to end me in Utah. You were all witnesses.
That's true. We were. We did. We saw it. It did happen. It happened. Rosalind almost was murdered by Chandler. And, thank God it didn't happen. It did.
I forgot why.
She slammed her hand in the door.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Yes. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, God. It was terrible. It was
Flux
an accident,
remembers.
obviously.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
You know what's amazing is that Rosalind had no lasting damage from that at all.
I know. Well, just because it wasn't hard. It was just an accident.
Oh, of course it was an accident. But if even when you get your hand stuck in a car door, it's like you could break it. We thought we were going to be on the way to the hospital. Thank God that didn't. Because we were actually on the way to Jeff's funeral. So
right.
That would have been terrible. All right. So we have history of disqualification. Oh, I was going to say, you were saying you don't think that he should be removed because it wasn't criminal, right?
So it's.
I wanted to add here, though.
Criminal. It doesn't
in Florida. In Florida, though, Larry, they are for real serious. There is another judge in Florida that just got removed from the bench for these exact same things. But you know what the difference is? He did it multiple times over some period of time.
With
now
in clients, with different people in front of them?
In this case, though, the judge did do this to 2 different people, but it was the same lawyers and they were the cases were happening at the same time. And right. I have a feeling that the JQC took it all together as a first offense. That's what I think. And I think if he does it again, I think they will remove him. Because Florida does not play. Florida is not playing around. I will have to find that other judge, but there is a Florida judge who was very recently removed for the same stuff. The bad temper.
Well, again, I just want to make sure you don't put words in my mouth. It's not only criminal behavior. I mean, criminal behavior is definitely criminality is definitely going to get you stripped of your robe. But if you're bordering on criminality, like I said, I don't know. It depends. It's hard to. It's a case by case basis. This one is truly there is no one size fits all because there are only so many judges and so many instances of when this has happened. And have you noticed an influx of these kinds of situations over the last 50 years? Like, name a case where a judge was removed for misconduct before, like 1975. I can't name a single one that I can think of, and I'm sure there were several, but like it's been exponentially increasing. Like the bench has become tainted with a lot of people who don't belong there.
Well, it needs to be used. See, so I feel like we've gone a long time in this country not using the repercussions that we have available to us for a lot of things that are going wrong. And the judicial system is one of the places where those consequences don't get meted out enough. So if it is ramping up, that's good, because we have a crisis in this country of judges acting out of school, acting like gods. And in fact, like this next sentence says, while many of Judge DeThomas's symptoms present as a bad case of black robe fever. That's exactly what the problem is. There's a lot of judges with black robe fever. They put that black robe on and suddenly they're gods on Mount Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
The condition has caused him to deny Mr. Hale's procedural due process. See, right here, that's criminal. That is criminal. You deny someone their due process in America as a judge, you've committed a crime against the Constitution. That's a due process violation is a very serious thing, especially when it's done to you by a government agency. I personally think it should be punishable by the death penalty.
No
one else seems to agree with me.
Hold on. Okay. Can I be devil's advocate?
Yes.
I agree with you, but at the same time, the judge has plausible deniability to say, well, I use my judicial discretion. I know it's very loose. I'm having trouble keeping a straight face even saying this out loud. But I had judicial discretion, and I believed in this instance, blah, blah, I could do this for this reason, blah, blah, blah. It's weak as hell, but it's a counter argument to your.
Well, they do give wide berth for judicial discretion, sure. But when due process is violated and you can prove it, like, and they did in this case because the appeals court was like, boot him. And the appeals court called what he did unlawful. So it's a little hard to argue after that.
I agree.
So Mr. Hales, he denied him due process and callously disregarded his constitutional right to a fair and impartial tribunal, not to mention Mr. Hales's personal safety. The issues with this judge are bigger than just personality. He also denied Hale's detailed disqualification motions containing ample factual and legal support in violation canons 3, E1, and E2, demonstrates that Judge Thomas is unwilling or unable to view things from the litigant's perspective and cannot recognize when he should recuse himself. This is a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 disqualification motions. Judge Thomas was served with 3 motions to disqualify for bias during this case. The first one, filed December of 2023, denied on 12/26, was largely due to his having appeared to act as Ms. Preston's attorney by conducting her direct exam and supplying her with elements of claims and defenses. He did that. Based on what occurred at the January 23rd, 2024 hearing, we filed a second disqualification motion on February 11th, which was denied on Valentine's Day, which was also, by the way, Laura Owen's due date, if I recall correctly. These cases have so many overlapping things. The February 14th order became an independent basis for disqualification. So a third motion to disqualify for bias was served February 21st, denied February 28th. Hales' petition for writ of prohibition was filed March 1st, 2024. Judge Thomas's refusal to follow Rule 2.330H, as shown at the hearings on 123 and 228, Judge Thomas's is extremely rule-driven. Yet, he refused to follow Rule 2.330 of General Practice and Process, maybe, the controlling rule in this disqualification context, and repeatedly crafted multi-page, single-spaced, excessive, self-indulgent, self-righteous orders denying our disqualification motions when the rule requires that no other reason for denial shall be given. Remember that? It was like an 8-page denial defending himself.
And thereby creating even more cannon fodder for Doreen to try and remove him. I remember those.
Yes, and that's what the appellate court found. They found that he should not have done this.
Yep.
They said for sure, they said he should have disqualified himself by the second one, but for sure by the third, and he didn't do it on any.
Yes.
He accuses and lambasts attorneys for allegedly not following rules, as he did to Attorney Shockett on January 23rd, but he doesn't follow them himself if they don't fit his agenda. Judge Thomas's February 14th order denying Hale's second disqualification motion was a 2,549-word self-serving passive-aggressive vehicle used to denigrate and belittle Hales' attorney while attempting to defend the very misconduct for which we sought to disqualify him. Had he followed Rule 2.330H, however, he would have been prohibited from writing such a self-indulgent order. That's a tough paragraph for him. Makes him look like an absolute fool.
Agreed.
Factual information necessary for context. The parties and attorneys, Jeremy Hales operates for those of you paying attention and wanting to know this case, pay close attention now. You're going to get the background. Jeremy Hales operates a popular YouTube channel called What the Hales. He obtained a stalking injunction against Miss Preston, a fan of his show turned stalker, in an Ohio court in or about August or September of 2023. Miss Preston then sought a cyber-stalking injunction against Mr. Hales in Levy County, Florida, and their case is before Judge Craig DeThomas's. No temporary injunction issued when Miss Preston filed her injunction petition in September of 2023, nor when she filed a supplement to it in later October. On December 4th, 2023, Miss Preston filed yet another supplement to her injunction petition, and Judge DeThomas has issued a temporary injunction on an ex parte basis against Hales that day. Miss Preston's December 4th affidavit implicates Hales' attorney, which was Mark Feather at the time. On December 5th, in 2023, attorney Randy Shockett of Shockett Law Group entered an appearance as co-counsel to attorney Mark Feather on behalf of Mr. Hales. Shockett immediately assumed the position of lead counsel. Attorney Doreen Inkeles is a partner with Shockett Law Group and participated extensively in this case, particularly with respect to matters of judicial disqualification on the trial court and appellate levels. Attorney Mark Feather made no court appearances after 11/29/23. However, his name will appear many times in this narrative because Judge DeThomas couldn't stop bringing it up at subsequent hearings on December 6th, January 23rd, February 28th, as well as in his February orders denying Hale's disqualification motions. You can pick it up here, Larry. Miss Preston.
Miss Preston. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Miss Preston was pro se until January 17th, 2024, when attorney Joshua Silverman entered a limited appearance to seek a continuance on her behalf, followed by a full appearance after non-evidentiary hearing on January 23rd, 2024. That hearing was the catalyst for Hales' second motion to disqualify Judge DeThomas for bias. It is common knowledge that attorney Silverman and Judge DeThomas have known each other for a long time and have some sort of friendship, which is not uncommon, by the way. It's not so far-fetched, but, and here it comes. However, that in and of itself was never utilized as a basis for disqualification. Judge DeThomas's incessant prejudicial remarks and inappropriate conduct sufficed. Nonetheless, it is common knowledge that attorney Silverman generally does quite well for his clients when appearing before judges.
Oh boy.
In fact, even Miss Preston knows this, mentioning on the record at her deposition that she was about to hire counsel, stating, "I hope to God it's Silverman."
That doesn't sound good.
The first evidentiary hearing in November 2023. Mr. Hales was finally served in early November, and attorney Mark Feather appeared with him for the return hearing on Ms. Preston's cyberstalking injunction petition. No temporary injunction had yet been entered at that point. Ms. Preston was still pro se, although no one knew about the extensive communication she had already had with the judge in the 3 proceedings before Mr. Hales was served, nor did the judge disclose such communications occurred, as we have already read. During this hearing, Judge DeThomas essentially conducted her entire direct examination, including supplying elements of her claims and giving her tips for other possible causes of action against Jeremy. In about 10 minutes before 5 p.m. on a certain date, I think that's the November 29th, the judge announced and insisted that they would have to conclude the hearing another day because he could not keep court staff at the courthouse past 5 p.m. That's a big fat lie. And Ms. Preston wasn't even finished with her direct testimony. This point was when Judge Thomas suddenly became verbally combative and indignant toward Attorney Feather after he merely asked for his 2 third-party witnesses could testify to avoid having to come back another day. 15 minutes, Mark Feather! You said it would take you 15 minutes to do 2 witnesses? That is not possible. I have been a lawyer for longer than you have been alive. And you're going to tell me you're going to do this in 50. All right, I'm done.
That's exactly how it went. Word for word.
The following information is necessary for context because Judge Thomas kept bringing up and denigrating Mark Feather, poor Mark, over the same 3 collateral issues at later hearings. Judge Thomas kept allowing these. He doesn't deserve this. He's a good guy. Judge Thomas has kept allowing these collateral matters to become the focal point of every proceeding. The 15 minutes. He kept repeating it over and over and over and over.
Did.
He just couldn't get past them because he had a personal vendetta. And that is why Mr. Hale's case never progressed forward. The judge constantly used these collateral matters, and he would spend, what, Megan, 30 minutes each time just reminding everybody?
Oh, it was at least between 12 to 17 minutes in the beginning of each hearing to go over his list of grievances. It was the list of grievances. I swear to God, it was like I was waiting for the Festivus poll.
To belittle poor Attorney Feather behind his back at hearings after November of 23. By January of 24, Judge Thomas's obvious contempt, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement, for Mark Feather transferred him to Attorney Shockett, who had now suddenly appeared to be co-counsel to Attorney Feather when he was replacement counsel.
Yeah.
But the judge kept reminding him, like, no. You and Feather are birds
You're
of a
in
flock.
on it together.
Whatever.
You and Feather are in on this together. I know it.
I like that. You want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Feather's alleged, quote, misrepresentation that brought his client a longer continuance, end quote. That bought his client, excuse me. At the end of the November 29 hearing in 2023, the judge stated he would clear his calendar the next morning so the parties could finish the hearing the next day on November 30th at 9 a.m. Attorney Feather informed the judge that neither he nor Mr. Hales were available to come back the next morning, stating Mr. Hales is having to address matters in Ohio court. Oh, God, I remember this.
Remember this?
Mr. Hales is having
and pay attention to the wording. Mr. Hales is having to address matters in Ohio court related to this situation. He didn't say Mr. Hales has court tomorrow. He has a court date tomorrow. Did he? He said he has to address matters in the Ohio court related to the situation. Turned out he had to go get something notarized at the court.
Yeah.
And the judge interpreted this to mean he has a court date.
Doesn't matter the fact that he has to be there tomorrow morning. He has to fly out, end quote. This is all part of the testimony that Mark, well, not testimony, but argument that Mark provided in court. So the fact that he has a flight, it doesn't matter. You can cancel that. I'm more important.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, unfortunately, Attorney Feather did not articulate carefully what he meant, which was that Mr. Hales had a flight out to Ohio the next morning at 9 a.m. to attend to matters related to the Ohio injunction, not a court hearing. Judge Thomas, however, for better or for worse, assumed from what Weather said that Hales has a court hearing in Ohio the next morning.
Yep.
This assumption played out in ways which significantly prejudiced Mr. Hales, discussed infra, meaning below. Nonetheless, even after Attorney Shockett and Mr. Hales himself explained to the judge on December 6th that Hales had a flight at 9 a.m. on 11/30/23, not a court hearing, Judge Thomas refused to accept the explanation, insisting without more that Feather made an intentional, quote-unquote, misrepresentation that, quote-unquote, brought his client a longer continuance. He did. He sure did.
Oh,
God, I remember this.
I'll I can pick it up here because we'll go into the next page.
Please.
Judge Thomas has never even attempted to give Attorney Feather an opportunity to be heard before summarily jumping to the negative conclusion that Feather lied to him about Hales, rather than consider that perhaps Feather simply didn't articulate his thoughts properly at the end of a long court day while discussing housekeeping matters. Playing judge, jury, and executioner, he instead took his resentment and indignation out on Mr. Hales and Attorney Shockett at later hearings, while continuing to denigrate Attorney Feather about all three issues, even though Feather wasn't even present to defend himself. Number 2, Feather's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
As they were wrapping up on 11:29, and the judge was ascertaining the amount of time needed to conclude, the judge asked Attorney Feather how much time he needed to cross-examine Miss Preston, and Attorney Feather replied, about 15 minutes. At later hearings, where Judge DeThomasis continued to harshly criticize Attorney Feather in his absence, he kept insisting that Attorney Feather said he could have completed the whole case in 15 minutes. The judge's repeated misrepresentation of Feather's statement at later hearings exacerbated his resentment against Hale's side of the case and ultimately led to retaliatory rulings that arbitrarily and capriciously prohibited Mr. Hales from conducting necessary discovery and otherwise denied him due process. Note, when the judge assigned the new date of December 6, 2023 to conclude the hearing, Attorney Feather's back was to the judge, as was leaning on counsel table. I remember this, while speaking with Mr. Hales. Regardless of whether Feather heard him or not, Feather did not make any objection to the date, but he also did not agree to the date. The judge simply adjourned after announcing the date. The issue is relevant because of what the judge misinterpreted on the record when he kept bringing up November 29th at subsequent hearings. The 11/29/23 recording supports this statement. Number 3, Feather's alleged violation of administrative orders unredacted recordings of the 11/29 and 12/6 hearings. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
This was so crazy. The judge wanted the hearings redacted or something. It was insane because it was getting public viewing. In early January of 2024, Judge DeThomasis learned that Attorney Feather was called to answer before the Chief Judge, Honorable Mark Mosley, for allegedly violating an administrative order regarding dissemination of unredacted audio-video recordings of court proceedings. The administrative rules promulgated by the Florida Supreme Court and 8th Judicial Circuit prohibited dissemination of confidential information on recordings of court proceedings, noting that unredacted recordings may contain confidential information. The form to be completed in the 8th Circuit to obtain unredacted recordings states that unredacted recordings, rather than confidential information, will not be disseminated. Feather completed the form, signing his name to obtain unredacted audio-video recordings of the court hearings on 11/29 and 12/6 and furnished them to Mr. Hales, who published them on his YouTube channel. Even though this was an administrative matter between Chief Judge Mosley and Attorney Feather and had nothing to do with the merits of Mr. Hales' case, Judge DeThomasis made this collateral issue, which was not his business to begin with, a focal point of Mr. Hales' case. Oh, she's so right on about it. I love Doreen. Doreen is so awesome.
Hi, Doreen.
She's so in your face when she's right about something. And I love that about you, Doreen. Yes. I love it.
Yes.
And she's just so good at the way she puts her words together, you know? Just
she's gonna make a great judge. Did you know that she is not running
yes.
in Florida? You get appointed. She's running for an appointment.
Yes, she was on the list. I heard she was on a list. Well, she will make a great judge because I'll tell you what, Doreen Inkeles knows the law. This woman knows the law and she has a respect for the law. And she does not like it when judges disrespect the law. And I have a feeling that if she's given the opportunity to be in the black robe, she will respect the law and due process. I cannot imagine her acting like this on the bench. Cannot.
No.
She would have far too much respect for the law to do that. And we need more judges like Doreen. I hope that she gets it one of these days because we need more judges like that.
Yes.
He repeatedly brought it up at the hearings in an accusatory, belittling manner as if trying to intimidate Mr. Hales or rub his nose in it, so to speak. At the January 23rd hearing, Judge Thomasis insisted multiple times that Feather was in violation of these administrative orders, when in fact Feather's hearing with the chief judge was not even scheduled to occur about 2 weeks after the January hearing before Judge Thomasis. Another example of Judge Thomasis stepping into the role of judge, jury, and executioner. The recordings of all the court proceedings also clearly show that at no time did either Attorney Feather or Attorney Shockett disrupt the court or act disrespectfully toward the judge. All right, Larry, you can take over here. We are at the top of page 9.
Specific instances of Judge Thomas's judicial misconduct by category. Number 1, repeated intemperance. Sorry, 1 second. Can you read for just a moment?
Sure. Condescending, sarcastic, belittling, petty digs, combative, etc. Relevant hearing dates: November 29th, 12/6, 123, 228. Quoted statements herein are examples, but not exhaustive. During November 29, shortly before 5 p.m., Attorney Feather asked if he could put on 2 witnesses whose testimony would be brief so they would not have to be inconvenienced by coming back to court another day. The following exchange is when we begin to observe Judge Thomas's condescending remarks toward Attorney Feather, as well as a sudden change in his demeanor where he became combative and defensive. Larry, can you play the role of the court?
Yes, happily. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I got.
That's okay. I've got some super chats I can read. Let me read super chats, and then we will come back to it. Shade 85, thanks for the 2. I'm in a better place than I was. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Shade, and thanks for supporting the show. Cat Weasel Gaming gifted 10 Megan Fox memberships. Wow, welcome to the Fox Den, all of you. You got that. Once you're in, you can't get out. Don't even try it. Nadine Bandura, thanks for the Canadian 5, says, I'm so glad I was watching with the Hales long before the crazy neighbors came into play. I'm so glad I did, because there's so much to keep straight. Yes, but this JQC complaint does lay out a lot of it, especially in the beginning. So if you ever wanted to know how this started, this is it. Max Lab, thanks for the 2, says, hey, Megan. Well, hey, Max Lab, thanks for all your hard work, buddy. Appreciate it. Fallen Hero 4567 gifted 1 Megan Fox membership. Welcome to the Fox Den. Whoever got that, make sure to thank the people in the chat handing out memberships like candy. We appreciate that. Just J Hip, thanks for the 5. Megan and DUI guy, please don't talk bad about my girlfriend. She's having 7 of my babies. What? Duncan Idaho, member for 18 months. This judge can't handle the power. It went straight to his head and corrupted him. Time to get him out of there. Good to see you, Megan. And hey, yo, DUI guy. Well, buckle up, Duncan Idaho, because we are not done. It's gonna be wild. Ian Thomas, member for 7 months. Megan, Larry. It's good to see you, Ian. Ian Thomas, thanks for the 2. Megan, hell yeah. Those 4 hours were worth it. Denise Ricard gifted 5 Megan Fox memberships. Welcome to the Fox Den. What does the fox say? It says that weird screechy noise. I know, it's terrible.
What does the fox say? All right, where are we? Of course.
I got 2 more super tips to go. Angel Parent Perez says, oh, wait, I forget. I have to make my screen bigger or you guys won't see it. All right. Angel Parent Perez, thanks for the 5.
My anxiety is over the roof.
Ah!
And
my mom is not dead. My mom is dead.
And Brazilla's Realm.
Just place your boobs in our hands. We're not picky at all at TugMed clinics. Just watch out for Dr. Bazookas, as he always seems to do his examinations with whipped cream.
That sounds like a lawsuit ready to happen. I don't know about that. I like my AI voice, though. My AI voice makes me laugh. Nick Ricada says it needs 40% more condescension, though. And I tend to agree. He's so good at the roasting, you know? He really is. All right. You are the court, Larry.
In time, it will work. Yes, in time. It takes time. You tried to railroad it through. I don't understand that.
No, Your Honor. I'm not trying to railroad it.
Well, the court disagrees.
I'm trying to convenience these witnesses who have been waiting 4 hours to testify.
And I've been doing what in the past 4 hours? penis pumping myself under my robe? No. Adjudicating the merits of what about the 6 other litigants times 2, others 2 in each case. Some were served and some were not served.
Understood, Your Honor.
With the witnesses, some without witnesses, some with supporters, not with support. What the hell? What did I just read?
I don't know.
Let me read that again. With witnesses, some without witnesses, witnesses without witnesses. It's like doctors without borders.
Litigants without witnesses.
Witnesses without witnesses, supporters without supporters, doctors without borders. I don't even know what I'm talking
I don't know.
about. I don't know when we started. So how many people were here? 25 or 30? Am I insensitive to these folks having to come back? No, I am not. I'm completely cognizant of it. You guys want to come back on Saturday or Sunday? I'll be here Saturday or Sunday. You want to come back at midnight? We'll be back at midnight. But I'm not going to put my clerks through that or my court security through that.
Well, I'm just suggesting.
How could you not understand that?
The witnesses, by taking their testimony now, Your Honor, if the court would consider it.
Yeah, you know what? The request is denied. It's mind-boggling. Okay, so your calendar and his calendar take priority over the court's calendar? Who the heck do you think you are? Which I'm willing to change to accommodate. I want the record to reflect I'm here to accommodate these litigants and these witnesses to resolve the case.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're willing to stay.
And if it can't be done by tomorrow, and you're asking for a continuance beyond tomorrow, I'll grant that. But I don't want anyone to be misled into thinking that I'm shirking my responsibility to adjudicate this case on its merits.
Your Honor, we would be grateful to stay as long as it takes.
You're missing the point, which I don't have. It's not about you and me. We have other participants in this, okay?
Yes.
Our court staff and our court security. And so I'm shutting it down in about 6 minutes. 6 minutes, Mark Feather. And if you want to come back at 9 o'clock, it's offered to you all. If you don't come back, if you can't come back or you're not willing to come back, we're going to do it next Wednesday at 1 o'clock, the 6th. If you have a calendar conflict, you've got a week's notice to make a change in your calendar.
That's fine with me, Your Honor.
We'll be back here Wednesday, December 6th at 1 o'clock. We stand adjourned.
During the December 6th, 2023 hearing, Judge DeThomas made the following gratuitous, belittling remarks about attorney Mark Feather, who wasn't even there to defend himself. Okay, court. It's you, Larry.
Oh, sorry.
The court. You're the court.
The fact that there was no temporary injunction in place at the time, the need for the respondent to get a resolution, which at times was inexplicable, characterized by his counsel at the time of judge. This will just take a few minutes when, at the same time, talking out of the other side of his mouth, he had 2 witnesses, at least, and he had a desire to cross-examine the petitioner. He raises issues of, Judge, does it matter to you? And it was like a rhetorical question. Or I don't know that he wanted to be adjudicated. But nonetheless, the court did not judge. Does it make any difference if the petition was not sworn to? Which I said, yeah. All legal issues, all factual matters are important to the court if they need to be adjudicated. And so once again, inexplicably, I don't know what he's talking about. But it became moot anyway.
During January 23rd, 2024 hearing, the entire transcript of the January 23rd hearing is nothing more than a running diatribe of Judge DeThomas's antipathy, indignation, and resentment toward all of Hale's attorneys and Mr. Hales. Not only did the judge repeatedly make disapproving, critical remarks, also discernible from the tone and inflection about Mr. Hales monetizing YouTube, but from the inception of the hearing, Judge DeThomas was verbally combative and accusatory, and his words often emanated with sarcasm and condescension. His overall body language and gestures toward Hale's counsel, pointing and wagging his finger at Attorney Shockett or thumping it down audibly as if angered, were inappropriately angry and aggressive. In that 190-minute hearing alone, Judge DeThomas made 16 derogatory remarks about attorney Mark Feather, who was not even present, about the same 3 things discussed in the general context section.
How do you talk about someone behind their back on the record in a public setting without giving them the ability to defend themselves? That is just sick.
It's awful what he did. I mean, poor Mark Feather. Poor Feather. And I'm sure he has to have been in front of him since then.
Definitely.
And I'm sure it's been awful. He also made 9 derogatory, insulting remarks directed to Attorney Shockett, merely because he asked for a continuance of the 12-6 hearing, having only been retained the day before. Judge DeThomasis kept belittling him for being co-counsel to Attorney Feather and subsequently found other reasons to criticize Shockett gratuitously, excessively, and rather aggressively. All of these remarks, it was like the guy was on his period, I swear to God.
Yeah.
That was what it was like. Like he suddenly just had really bad PMS. And it just taking it out on everyone around him.
Maybe it's hemorrhoids. Who knows?
Maybe he had a scalding case of hemorrhoids. But ever since you mentioned penis pump, now I have that mental image. And
read about it. I swear.
Oh,
not right now.
I can't.
It's real. It's real. 100%. Chat. Tell me right now. Is it real or am I making stuff up?
No,
I don't doubt
that it's real because it's what state was that in? Let me see.
Sure
now I have to look it up.
It's like Arkansas or Florida.
It's got to be Florida.
It's for some reason I want to say Arkansas. I don't know why.
Let's see. Oh, divorce corp at work. So he was a family court judge. Judge Thompson pumps his you-know-what while on the bench.
Ohio. Chat is saying Ohio or Oklahoma.
It doesn't say what state this is. Wait, it's on court TV. How long ago was this? Was this a really long...
Years.
Was this a long time ago?
Yeah, like 15,
it must have been
20,
like the 90s. The 90s. This looks like somebody in the 90s. This hairstyle here. I'm going to bring it up so we can see this. This is court TV from a long time ago. Let's see. It's 1 minute and 28 seconds. Judge Thompson. Did you see that headline?
Judge Thomas
pump up the jam. Oh God.
Day in the courtroom of Oklahoma District Judge
Oklahoma. He's lucky they didn't take him out and find a rope.
Court reporter Lisa Foster suddenly noticed the dapper and distinguished judge making an unusual noise.
It would be silent in the courtroom and he would start in on this pumping sound.
Now you're sitting there in court and this is what you hear. Listen.
Oh,
and then you hear it again.
Turns out that noise came courtesy of Judge Donald Thompson's penis pump.
Jesus. What is happening?
Why does he look like Hannibal Lecter in that shot, by the way? He straight up looks like Hannibal Lecter.
I don't know.
While he sat on the bench, he apparently felt it necessary to use his penis pump.
He wasn't just doing these things in traffic court. It's a couple of murder trials he was on.
Yeah, that's right, the murder trials. Yeah, because he's bored. I mean, might as well, get a little,
Oh my God.
Someone's life is in the balance. You're looking at life in prison, and this guy is playing around with a penis pump.
Judge Thompson used his device during 3 separate trials between 2000 and 2003.
How did he think no one was going to hear this?
Because he's a dumbass.
And when I stepped into the courtroom, the judge had that pump in his lap, and I saw his penis.
Oh, that's how he got caught.
Oh
Probably.
My God, he didn't even have it under his robe. He wasn't even smart enough to have it under his robe.
No, I think he got cocky. I think he got confident over time.
Cocky is one way to put it.
Oh my God, that was a subconscious Freudian slip.
Phrasing.
Larry.
That's what
Look
she
at me,
said.
I'm a pickle, Morty. I've turned myself into a pickle. I'm a pickle, Morty. Look at my pickle.
This poor woman who had to work in this courtroom. Oh my God. This is just awful.
Blatant about it, that he would leave the bench and leave the thing there.
As he started doing it more, it was almost like he got careless.
That's how they got him. A cop came around because they were wondering what it was, and they saw it, and they photographed it during a recess.
People know too much now about what goes on behind those robes.
Oh, Oh, no, she did not.
Oh, yes, she did. You know, back in the day, Court TV was lit, you know?
Yeah, well, before they had Julie Grant join the fray.
Oh,
Jeez.
don't even get me started on that. See you next Tuesday. I will
Yeah.
never forgive her. Will never forgive her for going after Maya Kowalski, a teenage girl who lost her mother, for wearing a homecoming dress that Julie Grant thought was too short.
You're kidding.
No, it was horrific. It was horrific behavior by a member of the press to talk about a motherless child in her homecoming dress when all the girls are wearing these ridiculously short skirts. Like, just shut up already. Leave her alone.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was horrible. I'll never forgive her for that. Julie Grant can kiss my ass. All right. Where were we? Before I got distracted by penis.
You were somewhere in like the middle bottom, other reasons to criticize Shockett, I think.
Right. All of these remarks were set forth and organized in Hale's amended petition for writ of prohibition, as well as in his third motion to disqualify the judge for bias. Judge DeThomas's treatment of Attorney Shockett was nothing short of abusive. Quite frankly, Judge DeThomas appeared to enjoy the maltreatment he was inflicting, he did, on Attorney Shockett, which becomes even more pronounced on April 12th in the companion complaint filed against DeThomas in Gosney v. Griffith and sent with this one. Right. In that case, that's the one where he was taking great pleasure in telling him that he was keeping him as long as he wanted to, and he would check NASA for sundown times for Sabbath because it was Friday.
Yeah.
For real. And Randy was like, I can't stay here past, sundown, Your Honor.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't. I mean, that's freedom of religion. You can't go against the First Amendment just because you feel like it.
And this guy thought that he could just, he could be the dictator that day. All right, you can pick up here if you can, the February 28th hearing.
All right. Judge DeThomas cannot stop being a lawyer or a compliance officer. Occurred at all hearings, including the 3 ex-parte proceedings in September and October 2023, where Judge DeThomas actively engaged with Ms. Preston. In November, excessive participation favoring one side. Judge DeThomas conducted the entire direct testimony of Ms. Preston, who was pro se. In doing so, he suggested other causes of action that Ms. Preston may have against Mr. Hales. For example, defamation or tortious interference with business practices, and I believe we said intentional infliction of emotional distress and maybe negligent infliction of emotional distress, as well as jurisdictional and due process arguments from Ms. Preston to raise regarding the Ohio injunction that Hales obtained against her. Now, in December, cross-examination compliance inquisitions done by DeThomas. In his December 4th order entered without a hearing, not only did the judge deny Feather's motion for a continuance, which was filed a few days prior, indicating a medical appointment because, who cares? But he sua sponte.
Wait, think about Judge DeThomas, how he was so awful to Mark Feather for having a medical procedure scheduled.
I remember.
But look at how Judge Davis has treated Scott Stark.
Stark, yeah. I was just thinking that.
He's been so, understanding and accommodating. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. I mean, which I think is the appropriate thing to do when someone says, I have these medical issues and you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. He let him do it 2 times before he asked him for some evidence.
I have always said, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, was I upset that the February hearing when we were going to milk, I keep saying Stark, when we were going to milk Stark for everything he's got because he filed a frivolous lawsuit against me and Jeremy and George and Terrence Greaves. I mean, yes, I was upset, but am I going to be up in arms? Am I going to be questioning it? Yes. Am I going to be a pissy little bitch about it? No. I'm going to let the judge give him a continuance. Okay, fine. We'll see you in April. April comes and goes. And we're like, well, Judge. And he's like, well, I am also sick again. And I can't come. And I'm
on the way to the hospital.
Now I am dying.
I'm in an ambulance and my computer is broken. And
I have my heart failing or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, look, if this is real, if this guy is for real, then I feel so bad for him because, it just goes to show that Bruce knows his targets very well. He targets the weak and fragile of society.
Oh, sure. If I had been working for
stars in their eyes and says, look, I'm going to make you a millionaire. Just sign here. and then they do, and then they have a heart attack. I wonder, like, if he destroys another life, I swear to God, I'll never forgive him on Stark's behalf.
Personally think, I mean, if I can see Bruce manipulating somebody like that and then the stress of it all giving him a heart attack. I mean, I really can. I
Yeah,
think the stress
that's
of
what I mean.
maybe he didn't understand what he was getting into, and then,
Bruce
now he
threw him
knows
under
he's
the
facing all
bus.
these he's facing all these sanctions. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that maybe he, a guy in his condition would be sent to the emergency room because of it. But eventually that hearing is going to happen. So it's on its way. All right, let's see. Where were we here? So sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
Where were you? Medical appointment. Right here. Medical appointment. Yeah.
And let me just finish real quick. By the way, I don't know if you know this. I've never spoken about this publicly yet, but you may or may not know that I am suing 2 of my former employees. Some of your chat knows because they saw it because Bruce blasted it all over the Hale's Facebook group, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Just 2 words on that. I think, and I think I have evidence now that he helped write the reply from 2 days ago that I got from my former employee. It's signed.
Oh my God.
It's signed by Tyler and Samina, who are both my former associates, but the language was 100% contribution. The way that it's written, like calling me an influencer, that I'm a nobody, I'm not really a lawyer, all that. I'm like, Bruce, where art thou, Bruce?
Oh boy. Yeah, sign your name, buddy, if you're going to do it. Did he drop polymop in there? Was there any polyflop references?
No, but he did call me unethical because I decided to file a lawsuit instead of electing for arbitration, which they want to arbitrate, and I'm like, okay, let's arbitrate. And now they won't respond to me because I agreed, and they didn't expect me to agree. So we'll talk about it later.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Somebody in the chat just said, this is a good question. Lady Tammy said, are there colons on the response? Did he put a cascade of colons down the very top? That's his signature style. We'll have to look at it.
He put a bunch of parentheses, which is the standard. I mean, they just copied my style because they don't know how to file in federal court.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. It was a copy and paste job at the top.
Well, he likes those. He does that a lot.
Yeah. But
all right,
I'm not going to fault him for it. It just shows that you have no experience and you have to like copy and paste. And by the way, one final fact, they forgot to include orders. All they did, they included the motion, but the local rules require other stuff and they didn't do it. I don't want to give them legal advice in case they're watching, but.
Interesting. Oh, I'm sure they're watching.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he's watching for sure. He stalks everything I do.
Yeah. Can you keep reading? I'm going to look something up here.
Sure. Hang on. I have allergies today. I have to, but I have a mute button, so I won't do it in your ear. All right. Indicating a medical appointment, but he's sua sponte and in violation of Mr. Hales's due process rights. Added a surprise command buried at the bottom of the second page requiring Mr. Hales to produce proof of his travel to Ohio, as well as proof that he had a court hearing on the morning of November 30th, 2023. From the context, it would appear that the judge's surprise command for Hales to produce such information from his Ohio trip resulted from Judge Thomas's taking merely umbrage over Attorney Feather's motion for continuance, which the judge criticized excessively on the record on 12/6. At the 12/6 hearing, Judge Thomas suddenly insisted on swearing in Mr. Hales and conducting a compliance inquisition to ascertain if Hales complied with the 12/4 order of producing proof of his trip to Ohio and proof he attended a court hearing on 11/30. Mr. Hales had provided his round-trip boarding passes to show that he traveled there, but no proof of a court hearing would be forthcoming because there was no court hearing in Ohio on 11/30 involving Mr. Hales. Before the judge began his inquisition, however, Attorney Shockett informed the judge that he had just received an email from Mr. Hales' Ohio attorney and explained that although Mr. Hales had to attend to legal matters up there involving his stalking injunction against Miss Preston, he did not have to be at a court hearing. Despite learning this, Judge Thomas nonetheless literally cross-examined Mr. Hales over 10 pages of transcript in an adversarial, hostile manner, as if the judge were opposing counsel, and even though he had already just learned there was not a court hearing in Ohio. His questioning of Hales included ridiculous questions like, why did you have to go to Ohio to sign documents? Why couldn't you notarize documents from here? Or, so you didn't have to sign documents until December 1st. Then, despite having just learned that Mr. Hales did not travel to Ohio for a hearing on November 30th, Judge DeThomas has nonetheless found Mr. Hales non-compliant with his 12-4 order, even though the judge knew that compliance, i.e. attending an actual hearing in Ohio on 11/30, was impossible because there was no hearing. Between entering a sua sponte ex-parte order with a surprise command from Mr.
By the
Hales
way, just real quick, sorry to interrupt, but sua
No, you're
sponte
good.
ex-parte, that's got to be like a record. To do something sua sponte, meaning it means in Latin to do it out of the court's own accord. No party is asking for it. And to do it ex parte. That's like nobody asked you. And
Nobody asked you for this.
Nobody asked you for this. And the other party is not present. That is like, it doesn't get more egregious than that.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
It really doesn't. It
No.
doesn't. It's terrible what
Sort of
he
like
did.
just openly saying like, I am going to kill you if you don't do what I say, which is like an open threat in open court. I'm sure some judge somewhere did that. But
hey, Vice baby, Connor just sent us a raid. We got our Vice baby raid.
What's
Welcome,
up,
all
brother?
of you. Welcome, Vice Squad. Come on in. We are reading the JQC complaint filed by Doreen Inkeles against Judge Grudge, Craig DeThomasis. And it is a doozy, guys. It is a doozy. And we're getting a complete overview of the case. If you needed a catch up, if you needed a what is this, what the Hales case about? This is it. Between entering a sua sponte ex parte order with a surprise command for Mr. Hales to produce such information, conducting an ambush compliance inquisition of Mr. Hales, and then inexplicably making a finding of non-compliance with an order that Mr. Hales could not comply with, was wholesale abuse of power by Judge DeThomasis.
by the way, this is the TLR version. You know, you got the
Yeah.
TLDR, too long didn't read. This is the too long read.
Too long did read.
Yes. Well, you can't do did read because then TLD, they're both
It's still
TLDR.
D. Yeah. Too long read.
I don't know. I just came up with it. It doesn't matter.
That's good. No, that's
Yeah.
good. By the way, a few of you have sent some more super chats. Denise Rickard gifted 5 Megan Fox memberships. Welcome to the Fox Den, all 5 of you. Once you're in, you cannot get out. Share Bear, thanks for the 20. I appreciate that. And Share Bear, thanks for the extra 50. Huge. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Lisa, thanks for the 2. Can I have gummy bears, Mom? If they have natural dyes, I say yes, but don't eat any of that red dye 40 or you'll end up like Slug. And you don't want that. Silhouette 1, thanks for the Canadian 2. Can you pass this on to Larry? Yeah, I'll make sure he gets that $2. Don't worry about it. I will.
Oh
I'll
God,
make
that
sure he
takes me
gets it.
back. I was
Yeah,
literally
that was
looking at
funny.
the top right-hand corner. It's like, stream this to your audience. Maybe I can just like stream it and just dip and be like, hey, Megan, I'll be right back. Thank you for the super chats.
That's so good. God, was that funny? I had no idea that was even a thing. I didn't even know what it
either.
was.
I should just claim ownership. Be like, I milked Megan. I milked her time for my own profit.
It was so good. It was so funny, though. It was epic.
Yeah.
Share Bear, thanks for the 5. I appreciate you. And Share Bear, another 10. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for that. Oh, gosh. And the super tips. The super tips are piling up. Let's hit some of those because those are always hilarious. Rosalind Duke. Wait a minute. Rosalind Duke, thanks for the 5.
TBF, there is nothing in the penal code that forbids pumping in court.
Penile code, not penal code. It mispronounced. It's penile code. Says the Baldo.
And Rhea Norman.
That poor judge. Things got out of hand. Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh, God. The Ricada voice is coming in handy today. I didn't mean to say handy. Candace, thanks for the
cocky, Megan.
Candace, thanks for the 5.
The judge pumped. The judge didn't pump.
Razilla's Realm.
Mother's Day is coming soon. Don't forget to send a card to the IRS to show how much you care about them.
And Fru, thanks for the 5.
Derailed.
And Vice, baby, thanks for the 5.
Eat all of the artificial coloring and chemicals.
No, Dad, don't say that.
That is one thing about super tips that is so funny, is that you can do them in succession. So you can do like you can send a group of them, so you can make the AI voices talk to each other.
Oh, wow.
And it's a lot of fun. It is so much fun. It is very funny. And by the way, public service announcement, those are not real voices. Those are computer generated for satire and parody, and as such are protected by the First Amendment. Don't complain about it. Grow up, lean in. Jokes are funny. Okay. Where were we?
If you don't laugh, you die. Anyway.
That's true. You gotta laugh. And boy, super tips makes me laugh. They are that what a hilarious idea, by the way. Supertip.gg is hysterical and a very good idea. And I wish I had thought of it because it's brilliant. All right. Where are we at?
January 23rd. And
yes.
Messages while I read.
My messages? Okay. Yeah.
January 23rd hearing, more compliance inquisitions to come. Towards the end of this hearing, Preston's attorney, Silverman, brought up an issue concerning sequestration of witnesses at the trial now set for March 1st. Although it is clear from the record that sequestration may not have meant the same thing to each attorney or the judge, Judge DeThomas made it clear that another compliance inquisition was coming on March 1st as the trial was to begin stating, the court, when each witness is going to be called when we reconvene on March 1st, we will have a brief inquiry before they are called, which is basically a testimony by avowal or voir dire, for those of you who may be familiar with the concepts of how the law operates, in case you're curious. The court will inquire if they discuss this matter with any of the other named witnesses in this case. And if so, to what extent and when? And the court at that time will consider potential sanctions for exclusion of them as witnesses.
This was so crazy.
So unethical. I mean, I don't know where to begin, honestly.
That was so crazy. I mean, this is not a murder trial. It is a small civil case
Even
about
in a
an
murder
injunction.
trial, they do this all the time. I mean, Jennifer McCabe has literally took the stand and, so we all got together and we created a timeline of like the events of what happened. And we all talked about this, and what's the problem? I mean, there's a lot of problems like for a jury to consider, but from a practical standpoint, would you expect everyone to like sequester themselves and now live in a bubble for the rest of their lives until the case is adjudicated by a jury?
Right. And especially if they haven't been told not to speak to one another. If they have not been ordered not to, why wouldn't they? They just were part of a murder scene. So of course they're going to talk about it.
It's the only question is like, what was the contents and what was the nature and what was the timing? All of that is relevant, but you can't just be like, well, because you did XYZ and you spoke about, ABC to person Z, I'm going to exclude you as a witness.
Right.
I'm not even going to listen to your testimony. You can't do that.
Right.
Considering the compliance inquisition that the judge conducted of Mr. Hales on December 6th and over 10 pages of transcript, only to find that Mr. Hales was non-compliant with something he could not possibly have complied with due to lack of knowledge, the March 1st hearing would have been a disaster had it actually gone forward. Based on this record, there is no question Mr. Hales, his witnesses, and Attorney Shockley would have been grilled and castigated by the judge, with all of Hales' witnesses stricken at the very least.
For sure.
100%. Judge Thomas has spent all of the hearing time on December 6th and January 23rd, 2024, espousing petty criticisms, which, by the way, were not based on fact, but on judges' distortions of fact, against Hale's counsel and Mr. Hales, as well as cross-examining counsel or conducting his quote-unquote compliance inquisitions on collateral matters which had nothing to do with the case. The January 23rd hearing is positively appalling to watch. And by the way, real quick, Megan, when was this written? Somebody in the chat was asking if this is like months and months and months old, because I don't think it is. This is recent. This is very recent.
Wait, let me see. We're on page 12. We're at the bottom of 12. Yeah. So let me run up to the top and see if there's a date.
It might be at the bottom. Usually it's like when it's submitted, it'll be at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll go to the bottom. Looks like, Actually, this was submitted last August.
Last August. Oh, okay. It is a few months old. I did not know this. I thought this was more
well
recent.
because it's not allowed to be made public until they have finished their investigation, right?
Logical.
So that Florida has rules about that. You can't look at
Did they render
disciplinary.
a ruling
They did. Well, yeah, they did. They closed it. So we don't know what they did.
without
We just know
it's probably a private reprimand.
it was. That's what I think happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he probably got a letter.
Yeah.
I think he got a letter of reprimand, but that would not be public.
No.
Like they could have done a hearing, but they did not. So that means to me, I think private discipline.
Okay,
Those of you
see, so
wondering
I
what
was-
I'm holding, it's
I was
therapy
right.
for my
I
hands.
said at worst they're going to do a public reprimand. At worst they're going to do a private one, but there's no way they're going to not disbar, but remove
Not
his
this time. Yeah. But maybe next time. We'll see.
bench. We'll see.
If there is a next time. But so far, according to witnesses inside his courtroom, he's been a changed man.
Yes, 100%.
And that's
I
good.
think
I'm glad to hear that.
mission
I'm really glad.
accomplished.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
happy. Yeah,
I am too. And I think that if he can repair his relationships with the attorneys involved, because I believe at one time they had a nice relationship. And so it would be good for them to get back to that and put this behind them, you know?
I
So-
agree. I'm all about what is it called? Rehabilitation.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like there is no such thing as a bad person. I don't believe in that. There's just people who act in really, really bad ways consistently. You just watch out for those. You know, but if I remember I was under the delusion, I will admit, I was under the delusion that even Amber Heard is capable of rehabilitation if she just took like the proper steps. I know it's delusional, but you know, a man can dream.
If she took the proper steps, I agree with that. The thing, and same with Laura
She
Owens.
never will, though. She never.
Well, Laura Owens could be rehabilitated too, probably, if she owned up to what she's done and she gets the help that she needs. But you have to want it. You have to believe you have a problem, and neither one of those women believes that. So
Right.
they won't.
Yeah, I'm too kind. I know people say that about me all the time. And Tim Swope, the Lambo is doing great. I actually just renewed the insurance on her, and I need to renew the registration in a couple of weeks. So I decided to keep her. I don't know if I told you, Megan.
I heard that. Yes, I
Yeah.
saw it on Twitter.
Yep. Anyway, what is particularly chilling, as shown in the case of the companion complaint, is that Judge DeThomas finds ways to create situations where he can spring a surprise inquisition on a party or an attorney to obtain a gotcha moment, resulting in everlasting prejudice. These inquisitions are also incidences where Judge DeThomas has taken it upon himself to engage in independent fact gathering, even though the information sought by the judge was for him to obtain a gotcha moment against the party or an attorney. The judge's 12-6 interrogation of Mr. Hales is also one of the many examples of the sheer arrogance that Judge DeThomas has continually displayed, as if his docket is the only thing that matters. He made statements at all of these hearings in various contexts, evidencing callous disregard for the schedules and plans of parties and or attorneys, and has no computation about even disrupting the dockets of other judges in other circuits to accommodate his own. For example, on January 23rd hearing, towards the end, in the context of scheduling a trial, he made belittling, sarcastic comments if a party or attorney was not available on a date he wants to assign for a hearing, while giving praise to Ms. Preston because she offered to cancel appointments to attend a short noticed hearing. And by the way, if I may say just real quick about that, Preston, you know, God love her, she lives like what, 12 minutes from the courthouse, and she has no job. She has no business for the most part, other than, and please.
Well, the flea market.
The flea market. Okay, but how often does that happen?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
She has to take care of the property. She has to make sure not all the turtles die. You know, she has to kind of maintain the bucket. She has to take care of things on the property. But at the same time, to say like, oh, I'm ready to clear my calendar for you, Judge, is an overstatement because she has no calendar.
She has no calendar. No.
So while giving praise to Ms. Preston when she offered to cancel appointments is a misnomer. It doesn't matter. She has no calendar, so whatever. And he perseverates.
Perseverates.
Actually, I don't think I know that word.
Perseverates. It's one you don't hear very often.
Definitely. I like it. What does it mean?
I think it means like he goes on about, like perseverates. He persists.
Persistently
It's
vomitiverates. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
On those issues at subsequent hearings. It should be noted that each and every time Judge DeThomas says something like, I'm not belittling, or I'm not insensitive to, or I'm not minimizing, is exactly that is exactly what he says he's not doing.
Yep, that's exactly right. Exactly. Oh, here we go.
I'm not belittling you, but
we
you
have
need
more
to get out of my
readings
courtroom
to do.
because you don't belong here. Clearly. Yeah.
All right, I'm setting you up for reading the court. On January 23rd, during this hearing, the judge constantly argued with Attorney Shockett, even though Shockett was trying to argue to the court. The following are some examples from the transcript of the judge cross-examining Attorney Shockett.
You're giving her advice of counsel? All right. So, well then, let's start with, do you agree or disagree that the notice of the deposition that was taken by video as opposed to just audio was proper or improper? Wait, this rings a vague bell. I've read
Yes,
this
you already read this in a dramatic way. Yes, this is it.
Do you agree that it's being broadcast on your client's YouTube channel? Was set up and taken to safeguard and to limit the continued publication of the 1129 and 12:6 unredacted recordings, audio and video of this court? You don't have to answer that, but tell me, have you done anything? Well, was it successful? And has it been successful? Would you agree that they've been unsuccessful until today? But that being said, in the context of the rule of safeguarding, is the attorney's responsibility. But now, it's been posted on do you think you'd be entitled to that? To get her, a pro se litigant, in front of you at a depot? To disclose and otherwise be attorney-client privilege?
Even though Ms. Preston had counsel at the January 23rd, 2024 hearing, the judge still acted like her attorney. Every time Attorney Shockett tried to bring up an issue regarding Ms. Preston's misconduct, erratic conduct at her deposition, requiring more time to depose her, Judge DeThomas has found a way to deflect it. For example, with regard to her improperly invoking the Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination to avoid answering questions in this civil matter where she was the one seeking affirmative relief, Judge DeThomas has merely said to Shockett, so, when a pro se litigant takes the Fifth, do you really think they understand? When Attorney Shockett explained that he actually went over the Fifth Amendment privilege with Ms. Preston on the record at her deposition to ensure she understood it, Judge DeThomas has retorted, so you're giving her advice of counsel? Oh my God, this guy, you can't win. In addition to also constantly interrupting and cutting off Attorney Shockett, Judge DeThomas has also used a hyper-technical construction of a discovery rule to deny completion of Ms. Preston's deposition arbitrarily, whereas he relaxed procedural rules to accommodate Attorney Silverman and never interrupted him. In doing so, the judge repeatedly, you know what else he did? He always took notes while Silverman was speaking. He never took one note while Shockett was talking. Whereas in doing so, the judge repeatedly and rather aggressively insisted that Shockett's video deposition notice was not in conformity with the rule and that the notice was inadequate, even though it was taken via Zoom with the court reporter supplying the Zoom link. This interchange at the hearing on 123 was much like watching the scene from The Verdict when the judge took over questioning Paul Newman's expert witness to manipulate him to answer no to the question. So, the doctors were not negligent? Judge DeThomas allowed attorney. That was a great movie. Judge DeThomas allowed Attorney Silverman to argue matters beyond the scope of his limited appearance, which was only to seek a continuance of the trial then set for January 26. At one point, he even ganged up with Attorney Silverman about portions of Miss Preston's deposition being published by Mr. Hales on his YouTube channel. Even over objection, Judge DeThomas has jumped on the proverbial bandwagon with Attorney Silverman when he raised issues beyond the scope of the limited appearance, and Shockett was ambushed with discovery issues not noticed for hearing. Further, acting like Preston's advocate, Judge DeThomasis made the following remarks, delivering in a very snarky, aggressive manner, which also improperly flipped the burden to Hales to show why Preston's deposition should continue, when the burden should have been on Preston to demonstrate why it should not continue. Doing so was also yet another example of the judge not following or being faithful to the rules of procedure. And I know you have to go in 4 minutes, but I think we can get through this next court.
Let's do it. I just have
statement.
one more question because you answered the first one, but I realized I had the embedded second question, which I didn't follow up on, and that's my fault.
Sure.
So it was filed in August, but when did they rule on it? So now obviously it's public, so it's not like it was written,
It was ruled. It must have been dismissed just
like
about
a month ago,
like a month or two ago. Yeah. Maybe 2 months ago, I would say.
So this is fresh stuff. This is fresh. The court. How about setting a depot that doesn't comport with and comply with 12.310B4, making it a video deposition when it's not in compliance with the video, and then having it published on the internet in a case of cyber stalking? That's now gone on since September. How is that not the consequences of now disclosing that video on YouTube internet, bad faith, or in a manner that might be considered unreasonably annoying or unreasonably embarrassing or oppressing to the opponent? So I haven't denied you to take that depo. I'm asking you, why should I allow it to be continued?
All right. Well, we will let you stop there, Larry, because I know you've got to get going.
We can finish the next paragraph.
Should we? Okay. The judge himself also supplied reasons for Preston for why her deposition should not continue. At another point, as soon as the subject of Mr. Hale's dissemination of portions of Miss Preston's video deposition on his channel was mentioned by Preston's attorney, Judge DeThomasis immediately jumped in with derogatory comments about posting that made it appear that he and Attorney Silverman were ganging up on Shockit. Yeah, it was all very bad. It really was very bad. Let me check the super chats to see if there are any questions in there for you. Let me check real quick.
Intentionally misrepresents and distorts the facts in the record. While you're checking, we're going to read that next time, probably in like a week or two or something like that.
Yeah, you want to do a part 2?
Definitely. I want to finish this.
Excellent. Okay, great. We will do that. On Rumble, we've got a couple of Rumble rants. James in Louisiana, thanks to the 5, says it's 2 spaces after a period. I wouldn't have graduated high school only putting
murder.
1. LOL.
Murder. Kill the subscriber.
It hasn't been 2 spaces since like 1994.
Exactly.
James in Louisiana, thanks for another 5. I think you sent that one twice. Did you mean to? Because it says the same thing. Or maybe it's just duplicated on my screen. And then we have a super tip, which is quite funny. Let me play this one for Larry before he leaves. Thanks, Bill Jarzemba, for the 5.
Why does Megan keep bragging about her super tips?
Oh my God.
Just the tips. Just the tips, folks. Just the tips.
Oh my God. No comment.
Well, Larry, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm going to write down where we left off. So that was on, we were on page 15. We really got more than halfway through it. So that's good. Awesome. That means it will only take a part 2 to get through the whole thing.
By the way, your channel probably doesn't know this, but I've rebranded slightly. I mean, I still have the DUI Guy Plus. If you search for me on YouTube, you'll always find it. But my official channel name now is Attorney Larry Forman. So that's my rebrand. And I do a lot of personal injury cases all across the country. So if somebody's been hurt over someone else's negligence or, God forbid, died, we have multi-million-dollar cases in litigation right now. And I love doing those because I get to be the prosecutor.
And you also have one coming up. You've got a case that you just took that is adjacent to the Karen Reed case in Massachusetts for cop bad behavior.
Yep, 1983, Bao Nguyen.
That's going to be really interesting. I'd like to follow are you going to be reporting on that when you get an answer there? I'm not sure where you're at with that one, probably in negotiation.
I won't be making videos on it because I think then I'm wearing too many hats. At the same time, let other people report on it, but I will definitely be tweeting about it because I think people deserve to know.
Well, great. Well, then I'll definitely keep following that one for sure, because that one, we need to go over that sometime, chat, because what happened to Larry's client there in Massachusetts out filming outside the courthouse is ridiculous. False arrest, bad stuff, constitutional violations, roughed up by
They assaulted him.
assault. They assaulted him. They
caused
absolutely
him
did.
physical injury. This is not just they hurt his fees and he is poor, sad.
No, it was they roughed him up
assaulted him.
for filming, not protesting.
Not just for filming, for being in an area where he did not fully understand he was not supposed to be in. He had questions, and before he got any answers out of them, it's all on video. Before he got any answers out of them, boom, head slammed into a truck.
Awful. And, also there was a ruling by the appellate court in Massachusetts that safe zone or whatever that Bev put around the courthouse is not tailored it narrowly enough. And so she's going to have to redo that. So that should affect it as well, because they can't act like stormtroopers and jackbooted thugs to people who are just exercising their First Amendment rights near the courthouse. Stupid.
I tried to post my 1844 number, but it won't let me. It's 1-844-774-HURT. 1-844-774.
Oh, your number?
HURT. Yeah, that's for the personal injury stuff.
Okay, wait, I can put that up there. Let's see. Say that again.
1-844-77-4-HURT. And no, I do not represent Turtle Boy. That's Bradle.
Injury.
And Bradle is going to represent, but probably Bowen in his criminal trespassing case. Yes, that's it. 1-844-774-HURT. Yes. So if you have any type of injury, death, medical malpractice, dental malpractice, legal malpractice, which probably I won't take, but I'll listen. And if it's really good, I might consider, because legal malpractice is a whole other beast. God forbid, wrongful death, somebody like in an accident, I love car accidents. Where right now I have this one case, and I can't tell you obviously any details except the facts, so it doesn't, not to reveal the client's identity, but she had the wrong tooth pulled. The dentist literally came in, was like,
God, that's awful.
Fuck. And then she goes home and goes, wait a minute, that's the wrong tooth.
Oh no. I've heard about doctors who cut off the wrong leg.
Yeah. Well, let me get that case, please.
Yeah, right. I mean, I wish you took educational cases, because I think I've got a pretty good one.
All 50 states. All 50 states.
The lawyers by me that do that, my God, the expense. I couldn't even get a letter written for less than $3,500, which seems really excessive to me.
I mean, what kind of letter was it, if you don't mind my asking?
For an appeal, for not an appeal like an appeal in court, but appeal to the school system for denial of homebound services. I ended up getting
in New York.
Yeah, I ended up
New York prices. You could probably.
Myself.
I did one of those letters and a hearing for $500 when I was in my second year of practice.
That's what it should have been. But
I was a baby lawyer. I wasn't like now. I'll probably charge at least a couple thousand.
Look, I would have paid $500 for a letter, and I would have written it. That's the thing. I just needed a lawyer to go over it, edit it, sign it, and send it in. It's an easy $500, but I just did it myself, and I won. So that's the good news.
Good.
So the good news is it's all fine now. But yeah, I still think I have a pretty good case, but I don't have the wherewithal or the funds to fight the school system of New York for the rest of my damn life. So I probably won't. But anyway, thank you so much for being here, Larry. And those of you, anybody who needs a personal injury attorney, make sure you give him a call, 1-844-774-HURT, to get a hold of Larry Forman, attorney at law. And thanks for coming by, Larry. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I can't wait to do this again. We'll talk behind the scenes. We'll schedule a time and
then I'll put it out and announce it so everybody knows when we'll do it. And I'll talk to you later.
I'll see you guys. Bye, Megan. Bye, chat.
Bye. All right. So what do we have here? Let me get over to the back to the comments. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Looks like we're all caught up. Let me check Rumble real quick. Rumble, how you doing over there, Rumble? It looks like everybody's going well over there. Okay, what's coming up next? So I think Tug's going live tonight. I'm actually not sure. I have to facilitate prom tonight for our exchange student. She has prom, so I've got to get going and make sure I'm around to take pictures and do all of the fun stuff for prom. Can you believe prom's here already? Anyway, guys, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. As always, it's been a pleasure. I hope if you needed, by the way, to... Sorry, I got distracted. What was I going to say? My thoughts just derailed. I forget. I totally forgot. I looked at a text. I shouldn't have done that because then I was thinking of something else. So anyway, it was fun. And that's what I was going to tell you. If you had needed to get caught up on the Hales case, this was a great way to do it. So stay tuned for part 2 because then you'll know even more about the case. And hopefully it will answer a lot of your questions about how did we get involved? What was it that made us interested in this case? And I think that the JQC complaint that we've been reading should give you a very detailed glimpse into why we were so interested in this case. Because you know for a fact, the type of coverage that I do here and Larry does, we are always interested in a judge doing bad things on the bench. From the pumping to the dragging off out of a courtroom to the condescension and the bias shown by Judge DeThomas's. We are always interested in those types of stories. All right, everybody, you take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Bye, everybody.